saying that we are not just to live these lives, but we have a purpose, being God's servant, being invited into a moment of co-creation with God, creating the kingdom here on earth, a world where people can know peace and love and justice, where we can create a space where we can all be genuine and authentic and not have to put up these facades, where we can come and maybe be a little bit wacky and a little bit wild, or be shy and quiet, where this space where we all are embraced and welcome just as we are. That is what God calls us to be as servants of God, is co-creators in the kingdom. And that's creative giving. Just like our book that we heard today, Peace is an Offering, seemed kind of like an interesting book to read during a time of stewardship. Peace offering? I don't know. What kind of hippy-dippy stuff are you trying to throw out here, Sarah? But it's creative giving. It's kingdom creating when we offer ourselves, when we create a world that is full of peace. And knowing that that happens in such different ways. It happens when we share our toys with our friends or with a stranger. It happens when we sit next to the new kid at school who may cry every day because they're scared and they're alone. And maybe they wonder if their parents will come back. Because that's a real fear when you're little bitty and you start school. But sitting next to them and providing comfort, that is creative offering. That's kingdom building. It's amazing to me how you see children come up with such creative ways to give of themselves and to give to others, whether that's through lemonade stands that they start and then become these big things so they can help others in the community, in the world, or whether that's donating their stuffed animals to other people who may have lost them, so they have something that can bring them comfort at night. Or making blankets. I call them prayer blankets or not blankets, but another name for them is the Linus Project. Collects these different kinds of blankets, and that started from that need for children to do and engage in something holy that helps others. And most people, when they are young, can learn to tie a knot pretty quickly, especially with a little bit of help. And these blankets provide love and warmth to so many in hospitals and people who maybe feel lost and alone. This is all creative giving, using what we already have in ways that makes this world a better place, in ways that help others know more about God's abundant love. That's what offering is all about. Offering ourselves, offering what we have in a way that is intentional, in a way that doesn't have strings attached, in a way that is going to bring new life. And we see that new life in our scripture as well when the author is talking about us being watered in trees, growing in dry land. How the Spirit will be poured out among the reeds. Willows will sprout up and there will be flowing streams. This is new life that God is promising God's people, these withered people who have been wandering in exile. Know that they are constantly reminded, they are reminded in this scripture that God is with them and God has never left them and God will never leave them. And God will water them and nurture them and not just give them their basic needs, but help them flourish and will always be present. God is the giver of new life. We just have to remember that God is always trying to water us and nurture us, help us to flourish. And when we engage in that servanthood, that co-creator mentality, boy, we can grow into great, great, good, holy things. And that takes having faith on our part. I've said it before today, I've said it many times in my life, but God will never leave us. Never. leaves us, always is present. And we just have to have faith in God. We have to know that God is continually creating new things, that a new identity is always being formed through God, through the Spirit, that God is always establishing us, reestablishing us, repurposing us in new and holy ways. There's always fear in this day and age of the church dying. Any church, all churches. Faith is not what it used to be. But God's presence is what it has always been. Presence has always been with us and challenging us and encouraging us to engage that new life, to embrace that water, to grow into new things, to embrace a new identity as God's people in the present day. We are always to be changing, engaging the Spirit, embracing that Spirit that is poured out among us, that is giving new life, and we are to share that new life with others. And that is what our faith and growing our faith is all about. The Scripture inspires hope for the future, and may we all be inspired by this text, knowing that we experience God's abundant love, knowing that we have been named as God's servants and invited into co-creating with God a world that is filled with new life, a world where water overflows and green leaves pop and grow off of new trees. Let us hear our text one more time. But now hear this, Jacob, my servant, and Israel, whom I have chosen. The Lord your maker, who formed you in the womb and will help you, says, don't fear, my servant Jacob, Jeshurun, whom I have chosen. I will pour out water upon thirsty ground and streams upon dry land. I will pour out my Spirit upon your descendants and my blessing upon your offspring. They will spring up from among the reeds like willows by flowing streams. This one will say, I am the Lord's, and that one will be named after Jacob. Another will write on his hand, the Lord's, and will take the name Israel. Let's keep reading through this chapter. The Lord, Israel's King and Redeemer, the Lord of heavenly forces says, I am the first, I am the last, and beside me there are no gods. Who is like me? Let them speak up and explain it and lay it out for me. Who announced long ago what is to be? Let them tell us what is to come. Don't tremble and have no fear. Didn't I proclaim it? Didn't I inform you long ago? You all are my witnesses. Is there a God besides me? There is no other rock. I know of none. God is our rock. Will be with us from beginning and in present and through the very end.